Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to a special episode of Trailmakers Creations by ThatDomGuy, yours truly. I've decided to do a special episode here, a short clip on the ornithopters that I've been working on recently. I've been working on them for a long time, had no success in actually being able to make one fly. So, when I did finally get one to do what I wanted it to do, I can show you steps that I went through in getting it. This is the first one that I built. I've seen other ornithopters on the shop and being built by other players. The majority of the time I see people trying to build it as small as possible, using the go-kart seat and super lightweight frame parts, minimal parts, trying to make it as small as possible so that it can lift itself off the ground. I'm kind of finding that restricting in the sense that how am I supposed to build something that looks like a dragon if I can't add any blocks? You know what I mean? So I figured out a way to generate enough lift that I can actually add some other blocks, use some different seats, get some different effects. The wonderful thing about the bionics is that they'll function underwater. If you program them to keep flapping, and there's a sub seat on there, a diving bell, then yeah, it'll just keep on swimming in the water. There's absolutely nothing stopping it. Again, that's a whole other ball game. I might build an underwater swimmer, something like an ornithopter, but for in the water that swims using wings, totally bionic. But that's a whole other ball game altogether. So this is the first small ornithopter that I built. As you can see, it just uses rotating servos with a couple of steering hinges connected to it, and then they're programmed for a certain time to give the desired effect. The rotating servos actually give a bit of a rotation during the flap. It's a small rotation, but what that actually does is allow the wings to lift and the rotation to push forward slightly, so that you can get the same thing that a bird's wing would do. Is with each flap you get forward motion as well as lift, and then it's just a matter of controlling that from the tail end. So we'll jump into this puppy here. I'll show you. This was so all I'm doing here is it's programmed on the space bar. I just tap the space bar once, it starts flapping, and I do nothing but steer it. So we'll flap, and as you can see, likes to slam his face on the floor. So by pushing forward, which seems counterintuitive, it actually lifts the front end, and once it gets off the ground, as you can see, she flaps quite nicely. And you can see that bit of rotation in the wings. You'll also notice that I've got a second hinge section in the wings. I find that I get a lot more lift with that second hinge section rather than just one straight wing. That extra bit of flap at the end seems to add a substantial amount of lift. The tail here you can see as well is there's a couple of hinges there just behind the seat that fold the tail end up a bit. That's simply to counteract the nose wanting to go down. So every forward motion, the tail is pulling the nose up just slightly, which is what allows it to stay in the air. And again, the forward motion of the wings and the rotating flap is what's pulling it forward. The body wings, as obviously, are what's giving it the lift and allowing it to maintain flight. So that is the small one that I started with. That was the simplest. I took a different seat, see if I could carry a little bit more weight. So we'll just pop out here. We'll just let him fly away. As you can see, they are fully programmed to fly on their own. So off it goes into the wild blue yonder. And we'll come down here and take a look at our next one. So my next challenge was to try and build an ornithopter where the wings were connected only by electromagnets. Of course, this was inspired by a recent episode that Scrapman did on the wild behavior of electromagnets. So I came up with this build where the wings are connected by detachable blocks. You can see there's magnets on the end of the wings and magnets on the body. So we start the flapping with the magnets on the body, and now by hitting one button, E I believe it is, that will separate the wings from the rest of the structure and turn on the magnet wing, the ones on the wings. So I want to try and catch it when the magnets are all the way down, just to get as much lift on the wings. So we'll go 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, get back in there. So as we can see, we did manage to catch the wings. There's absolutely nothing holding them on except the electromagnets. And we're still able to generate the lift. Again, kind of tricky to catch the wings at the right time. Okay, come on now. But as you can see, yeah, she flies. I was actually surprised that the electromagnets were strong enough to hold the wings on and still generate enough lift. So even when I turn the magnets off that are on the body, the ones on the wings stay on because I'm no longer in control of those. Once they detach from the body of the plane, they're toggled on and they stay on. I can't control them anymore. So even if I turn mine off on the body itself, they still stay stuck on there. So yeah, I thought that was a good challenge. That was pretty cool. I was surprised that it worked as well as it did. And he's just flying backwards now. They're not into the wall, so let's get out of here. So I took this to the next level and decided to try and build the biggest ornithopter that I could. This is my latest creation. Someone put in the notes as well that a dragon ornithopter would be cool. So I went with that theme and tried to build the biggest ornithopter I could. Now this puppy, as we see, we'll get in. I'll go into build mode so that y'all can see 558 kilos, so over 1,100 pounds. It says it's got 3 cores on it, but that's simply the cannon underneath here. I figured, hey, what's a dragon without fireballs, right? So if I remove that, he's down to 0. He's fully bionic. So we've got the seat up here, fairly decent head. Took a while to figure out the balancing for something this size. So we'll rebuild that. You can see, compared to the other ones, this thing is monstrous. That's also, I call it a mega wing because it's got double sets of wings. A lot of parts on here. It's pretty heavy. Well, let's jump in and same thing, just hit the space bar and then it's a matter of steering. This body's a lot more articulated. There's a lot more hinges in it. It can turn left and right. The head turns, the tail turns. I finally got the steering figured out for ornithopters. So yeah, let's have a look-see. So, as you can see, it does fly. Again, the bending in the body definitely helps with lift and control. Next, I'm going to try and build one that travels a little faster. But again, not necessarily going for speed when it comes to an ornithopter. I'm just glad that it can lift itself off the ground. Yeah, this is probably the biggest ornithopter I've seen. You can see the tail rotates left or right, opposite the head. The head turns as well. I can arch his body downwards if I want him to fly towards the ground, or I can pull up, and again, I believe it's 10 or 15 degrees articulation on each of the steering hinges in the body. Gives me enough lift to keep myself up off the ground. Looks pretty cool. The again, the cannon underneath set to left shift. The jaw opens, spits out his fireball. Currently is set up, he kind of naturally wants to lean forward, so you have to keep on tapping the back button to keep his get him to go up in the air. But that helps with the speed a little bit more as well. If he's leaning forward, he's going to want to carry a little bit more speed with every flap of his wings. So yeah, so I thought I'd share this with you guys. I had a lot of fun building these. I'm probably going to build a few more, try and get more and more realistic looking ornithopters. Unfortunately, I might be limited to, I hope I'm not limited, to this body design with the large angled tail countering the wing flaps and the lift in the bodies. If there's another way I can do that, maybe you guys can figure that out. Let me know down in the comment section below if you guys got another method. I've seen some other different methods of flight, but I've never seen anything this big that can actually fly. So yeah, thought you guys might enjoy that. Stay tuned for my next episode, where episode 3, where I'll have a few different bots, 4 or 5 different bots that I've built that I'll showcase in the next video. Until then, have yourselves a great day and fly on.